G'day viewers and welcome to this week's PB's Retro Restorations. This week I'm doing this 1979 XD Falcon, which is starting out as a taxi cab and is going to end up something completely different. Now the XD Falcon was campaigned by several fellas back in the 80s. Probably the most famous one was Dick Johnson, the local Queensland hero. His 351 Cleveland powered job. I think he won Bathurst in 1981. I know Matt and Ken, you're all screaming at the TV right now. I know you all know exactly what year it was and I should have looked it up but I haven't. So you have to forgive me. Now Cassie, Nathan and the kids are long-time supporters of this channel and they were telling me all about another Queensland hero who races a blue XD Falcon. And they reached out to see if I couldn't put something together for your Father's Day, Matt. I was super stoked to be able to try and help in any way I could. This is some of my grandfather's stuff. He was a privateer racer himself back in the 1950s. Raced alongside some people, some of you young people won't have heard, like Harry Firth and Frank Code. That was back in the old world in the 1950s. Things have changed a lot since then. Mind you, a lot of things have changed since 1980. A lot of things have changed since 2020. But anyway, that's the world we live in now. Matt, I hope you like the outcome. I'm really pleased and proud to have been asked to build this one for you. I'll stop gibbering and we'll start building. Now this is a 1/43rd scale Trax brand car. They make a range of Australian vehicles. They're held together by plastic welds. Everything comes apart with these little, where they've melted the plastic on the inside. So I start by breaking them off and ripping out the bench seats. We don't need bench seats in a race car, unless of course it's a max wedge Hemi drag car, then bench seats are acceptable. But Matt, I imagine this is a familiar scene to you, ripping out the bench seats to get some proper buckets in it. So here it is all apart. There's tons of little tiny pieces. I tried not to lose them all. Cassie helped me out with some pictures of the decals I need to try and reproduce. That was helpful, immensely helpful. I found some online, was able to remake. Now, measuring up the interior, I got some photos off eBay of some XD Falcon doors that were for sale, just to get an approximation of how the holes look, just to try and replicate that interior. So here's where I ended up with it. I neatened it up a bit more after this. I just printed it on some sheet and stuck them on the back of those inserts. So I managed to lose my footage of actually editing the decals for all the windows. But here's my folder of them all. I broke them all into individual stickers. The ones I couldn't find on websites, I just edited from the actual photos themselves. And they came out pretty good. And when I took the taxi topper off, of course, there are a couple of holes there, so I just filled them in with some Tamiya putty, sanded it off. And then I got to work on making that spoiler for the back. I'm just using some sheet styrene here, measured and cut to shape and size. And it worked out pretty good. So, once I got one that I thought was a reasonable shape, I taped it on. And then I got my heat gun, just let gravity and heat do the work. Melted it a bit, shaped it around the back of the boot lid, and cut it and filed it. Made it work. Now, I'm not going to lie to you viewers, it was a few attempts. I didn't get it right the first time, but patience and a bit of practice, we got it looking like it should. I filled it in. I just glued it on there with the Super Duper. Filled it in with some Tamiya putty, made the upright part of the spoiler, glued it on as well, filled it in and smoothed it out as best I could. Now I've got these 1/43 scale tow hooks from the same fellow I got the Recaro buckets from in Italy. Use my little pin vise just to drill a little hole in the front bumper to put it in where it should go. One thing I've learned about 1/43 scale in doing this is there's quite a range of aftermarket bits and pieces for this scale, which is good. Anyway. So here's our bucket seats. They needed a bit of cleanup, as any white metal casted part does, but they look really good. I filed the holes open where the seat belts go through, and they look the part. Now I made a tiny little transponder out of a bit of styrene, and I just hand painted it green once I'd stuck it on there, and it looks good. I assume it's a transponder. The transponder for the lap counting and the rest of it, I'm assuming. And give the tow hooks a coat of red as well. Now, I drilled holes in the base just to stick these seats in. I glued them in, of course, and after the test fit I sprayed them the appropriate colours. Now we come to the wheels. Now, as you saw at the start of the video, Matt's XD's got 5 spokes on it. I found a supplier in England that had them in the right scale. I said, beauty, mail them to me. 3 months later they turned up and one of them's almost completely destroyed. Now I got in touch with the guy, I said, oh well, I'll try and send you another set. He never did. He never got in touch with me. Anyway, so I thought, well, I'm going to have to make these work then, because I'm not ordering another set off him. He can shove it. And then I had one of those serendipitous, that is a word I think. Anyway, walked into a trash converters and lucked onto this, which was less money than it was to get the other ones posted from England, and I got a whole car, so I got a project for another build one day as well, as some proper 5-spoke racing wheels. So that was lucky. I didn't know what I was going to do. But anyway, they're white, so I'm going to have to recolour them to silver so they match Matt's originals. Now, you probably also look at these and go, geez, those axles are a bit short. That's never going to be wide enough. And that's because I had to modify the base. I sprayed them while they were on the axle, and then I chopped them in half to stick into the brass tubing, which you'll see in a minute. So here's the modified base. I drilled it out and put brass tubing through there, which I trimmed as appropriate, just so I could stick the axles in and glue them in so they would stay put. Okay, we're all in primer, ready for some colour. I'm using Mr. Hobby Lacquer. It's blue, it's number 65, I can't remember what the blue's called, but it was a pretty close match. And as a special bonus to my regular viewers who've been missing out my super special effects that I haven't been using, here we go. Just gluing in the windscreen with the canopy glue. It's a special glue, it's probably just white craft glue, I don't know, but it doesn't craze the plastic. Here's the interior. I just put the sides on, they're tacked on with some glue as well. You'll see I did put a gear shift in there and those custom buckets. Now you'll see here that I had an issue with the clear on one of the windows. I'm not sure why that window and not the rest. I'm quite grateful it wasn't the rest. So that did cloud over a little bit, that side. Wasn't happy, but soldiered on. Now here's an example of how tiny these little decals, some of these decals were. Here it is next to a bottle cap. I was not drinking while I put them on, I promise. So here we are back at the start with our Melbourne Silver Top Taxi. Here in Brisbane, Queensland, we had yellow cabs, which were actually orange, and black and white cabs. Speaking of Brisbane, my international viewers may have heard that we've been announced as the 2032 Olympic City, so now you all know where I'm from and where I live. That's exciting, I think. We'll see. It's 10 years away. I could be dead by then. Anyway, this is what we started with, and here is what we're left with now. Now, I don't have any turntable shots this week. Cassie had an awesome idea of getting some photos of Matt's garage and printing them out and putting them in the case. These Trax models come in a little case. It was a brilliant idea and it worked really well too, as you can see here. So Matt, Cassie and Nathan and everybody must think a lot of you. You must be a good bloke. You sound like a good bloke. And I guess it must have passed the test because it's ended up on the shelf with your trophies and things. So that was, I'm really honoured that it's you thought it was worthy enough of sitting up there. So don't forget our upcoming dibs build off for August 15th. Drag cars, you can do whatever you like. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I take the time to thank you for stopping by my channel. Thanks to all my old subscribers. Welcome to our new subscribers. And if you would like to join the fun, just click on my bald head there and subscribe. Click on the bell for alerts. I try and have a new video every Friday at 9:15, and I'd love to see you back again. We're coming up to 500. Might have another giveaway, but I'll have another mini video next Wednesday. Maybe I'll talk about it some more then. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. I'll see you on Friday. Or next Friday. You know what I mean. Bye!